Hey everybody, the Super Vader 400 here, back for another review. And this time, this is my long review of Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, which was originally released in March of this year. I initially planned on seeing this movie when it was released, but I once again I had some personal issues and I really didn't want to leave the house. And I also saw the negative reviews for this film. I saw the negative reviews for this film on Rotten Tomatoes and saw the various negative reviews on YouTube criticizing and bashing the film, and I didn't like what I was hearing, and I didn't want to be disappointed. I didn't want to set myself up for disappointment again. The last two films I saw, Deadpool and Star Wars: The Force Awakens, I didn't like either one of these movies, but this movie right here was way better than both of those movies. After this movie had flopped out of theaters, I figured there had to at least be a low quality stream somewhere on the internet, and I found a lot. I found a couple on a website called Put Blocker. I found a low quality stream, and I've seen the film for the fifth time today. I watched it earlier today, or once again, should I say early yesterday? Early yesterday, um, early yesterday, I saw this film for the fifth time, and once again, I love this film. So I initially also wanted to watch this film so I could take my shot at it, so I could tear it apart for all the terrible things I was hearing. But from from the opening intro explaining Batman's origin to the final fight with with between Batman from the last two fights between Batman and Superman, and the final battle between Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman versus Doomsday, I was hooked. This film totally blew me out of water and exceeded my expectations. This film had a couple of problems, but the story, the cast, the characters, and the action and visuals carried this film from beginning to end. I was hooked. This film was far from terrible. It wasn't perfect, but it was far from terrible, and this was just about everything I wanted in a DC Universe film. Zack Snyder, I've doubted you, but you once again proved me wrong. This film was way better than what it made at the box office, and way better than what it was than what it was rated. This film had what was it, 27% on Rotten Tomatoes. This film at least deserved a 40, 50, 60, or 70%. It does deserve a little criticism in a couple of areas, but at least deserve that high of a percentage. And as far as box office, this film deserves more to make more than 8 million with a budget of 200 million. It turned a profit, but still it didn't make as much money as it should. It should have made more than $8 million with a budget of $2 million. It should have made more money than that, because, like I said, this film um was awesome. The last two the last two scenes in this film, which was the scene between Batman and Superman, and the final scene between Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman versus Doomsday, were totally worth the price of admission, and were worth all the wait and all the awesome build up in the film. My favorite scenes were the opening explaining Batman's origin again. No matter how many times that appears in a film, I never get sick of seeing Batman's origin. I never get sick of seeing it, no matter how many times I see it, whether it's in a cartoon, whether it's in a comic, or whether it's in a movie. I never get sick of seeing Batman's origin, the killing of his parents, and setting the tone for Bruce Wayne becoming Batman. I never get sick of seeing that. To the second scene, which shows Batman in a post-apocalyptic world, in a world being torn apart by Superman and Zod, in a world being torn apart by Superman and Zod. The scene where Wonder Woman is investigating all the metahumans the scene where Wonder Woman is investigating all the meta-humans and pretty much watching trailers for the other DC extended universe films, and the I didn't understand this scene, but I liked it, Flash, which show Flash, and I actually thought I was gonna hate this when I heard about it. 'Cause it sounded so ridiculous, but Flash was in this film was some kind of Bruce had a vision of Flash traveling back from some time, telling him that Lois is the key to the future. I didn't understand this scene, but it was awesome because this is what I want to see. This is what I want to see. So I didn't mind them shoehorning. At first I did, but up until I saw the film and understood why they had to shoehorn so much stuff in, so they figured that, but if they were to build a cinematic universe similar to how Marvel did it, people would get sick of superhero movies by the time they would get to Justice League. So they kind of threw a bunch of stuff at you so they can quickly jump to the Justice League film. In any other film, I would probably be critical of it, but I understood it here. So I'm more accepting of it here than I was in previous films. Let's say the Amazing Spider-Man series. I was more accepting of it in this um film here. Then of course the scene where Batman and Superman finally meet face to face. Where Batman is driving his Batmobile and he runs into Superman, and Superman tells him, next time you're next time the next time they show your bat signal in the sky, don't go to it. Don't go to it. And Batman asks Superman, do you bleed? You will. You will. And the earlier scene before that, which this was the first scene after Batman beat up some guys in the desert. Um, he gets captured by the guys wearing the black Superman spy suits, the black Superman spandex, and the mask, and Superman flies into the hole and unmasks as Batman, revealing himself as Bruce Wayne, and Superman says, "She was my world." Yeah, and like I said, the entire cast was great. Henry Cavill as Superman, Ben Affleck as Batman, which a lot of people praise. Ben Affleck as Batman. Jeremy Irons as Alfred. Lawrence Fishburne as Perry. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Yeah, I love Lex Luthor in his film. His ultimate plan pisses me off more than anything else he's done in the film. His plan at the end of the film, his backup plan, his end game was more of a betrayal of Lex Luthor than anything else he's done in this film. But I got something for that at the end when I get to that. But I enjoyed Eisenberg's Luthor in this film. He was hilarious, and him and several other characters brightened the tone up so it wasn't getting like too dark. Because this is still a comic book movie. And another thing I loved about this film is I said this in my Civil War review. This film, one thing I like about both of these films is that these films showcase that even though we have a world with superheroes, the world is still not a better place. It is still a screwed up place despite having all these superheroes. This world showed us actually somewhat even worse, having superheroes like Batman and Superman and Batman around. Superman. So while this film, like I said, has several flaws, mostly in the writing department, the the story, the cast and the characters and the action visuals just carry this film. And then, like I said, after they meet face to face, the last two scenes with Batman and Superman fighting, just pure domination from Batman, with Batman saying stuff like well, I'm gonna get to all that in a minute. But like I said, the last two scenes were worth everything in this film, and the various cameos, which I thought I was gonna hate, the various cameos and the various shoehorning of other characters from the DC extended universe, and them trying to set up what's his name, and them cramming like three different stories. This film is based on like three different stories. That's The Dark Knight Returns, um, The Dark Knight Returns, um, the New 52, Injustice, and of course, Batman versus Superman, and finally, the death of Superman at the very end. At the very end, despite cramming all that together, this, in my opinion, for the most part, still did a good job despite the problems with the film. Let's get to so I'm gonna get to all of that in a minute, but first, let's get to the storyline. Storyline was actually, for the most part, hard to follow. This film is set several months after Man of Steel, and Superman is now a controversial figure. Thank you on Wikipedia. The film starts off well after of course the film starts off with an origin story for Batman with a flashback of Batman's origin, and then of course Batman in a post-apocalyptic world with between a battle between Superman and Zod, and the main plot of the film is pretty much Lex Luthor. He uses Batman and Superman's animosity towards each other. Batman views Superman a threat that could possibly wipe out humanity, and he builds a kryptonite. He builds a metallic suit. He builds a metallic suit and steals some kryptonite and develops several kryptonite weapons to battle Superman. And Superman sees Batman as a threat because of his various vigilante activities and plans to expose him via the Daily Planet, but Perry White doesn't allow him to pursue that story, so Superman tries to intimidate the Batman by telling him, next time you see your light in the sky, don't go to that. If he wanted Batman dead, Batman would be dead. And this is, like I said, where Batman learns that Superman is vulnerable to kryptonite. He plans to steal the kryptonite to use it to battle Superman. He develops a special bat armor with several kryptonite weapons, preparing to battle Superman. Luthor uses the animosity both of these men have towards each other by not only staging two kidnappings. He kidnaps Lois and pushes her off a building. Superman saves her. Then he also kidnaps Superman's mother, Martha. But before all of that, Luthor frames Superman for crimes he did not commit by setting up a terrorist attack in Africa. That Superman gets blamed for. Then later, during a trial or a meeting, framing Superman by killing a wheelchair guy with a bomb that explodes and nearly kills everyone there. And Superman, because he could not detect the bomb and deflect it, he sends himself into exile. And this is where Luthor kidnaps both Lois and his mother. Superman saves Lois, but Luthor, as a final trick up his sleeve, sets up a death match between him and the Batman. So Superman tries to reason with Batman. But Batman doesn't want to hear it and immediately activates his kryptonite hearing. Superman takes a manhole cover and destroys the machinery. Then Batman begins shooting some stuff at him, and then they begin fighting with Batman immediately, because of his armor and his kryptonite weapons, immediately has the upper hand and just for the most part destroys Superman. Superman later starts getting the upper hand, but Batman eventually wins. And right before Batman is about to kill him with the kryptonite spear, Superman says, "You're letting him win. Save Martha." And Batman is like, "Martha, Martha, why'd you say that name? Why'd you say that name?" And then before Batman could kill Superman, Lois intervenes and says, Lois is Martha is his mother's name, and that immediately causes Batman to flash back to his parents being killed. Now he couldn't save his parents, and this ends any sort of animosity both men has towards each other and promises that Martha will not die. Martha will not die tonight. But before that, the fight between Batman and Superman, like I said, that's worth the price of admission. The fight between the two, like I said, these two men clashing, these two men with different ideologies clashing in just pure domination by Batman. And Batman is like, you're not a god. You're not even a man. You're not even a man. Men are brave. You're not brave. Men are brave. Like I said, just awesome. And then when he's finally about to kill him, Martha, why'd you say that name? Why'd you say that name? Martha. And then Superman, you're letting him win. Save Martha. Save Martha. Martha, why'd you say that name? Why'd you say that name? Ben Affleck is Batman. Ben Affleck is probably the best, if I had to choose, probably the best Batman we've had since Val Kilmer. Since Val Kilmer, he captures both the comedic playboy philanthropist side of Bruce Wayne, while also capturing the serious and the dark and the grittiness of Batman. Like I said, the Christian Bale Batman. That Batman was too weak and grounded in realism to survive in the DC in the DC extended universe. This is the Batman we need in the DC extended universe. This Batman was lethal but still had a comical side. Ben Affleck, he still portrayed this. I've always had faith in Ben Affleck since he was in the Daredevil movie. He was in that film. He was Daredevil, but he was more Batman than he was Daredevil. He wasn't intimidating enough to be Daredevil. But in this, but so I always knew he could play Batman in this film. And he's just like that Daredevil character, except even much more intimidating in this film. It's still campy and a kind of cheesy, but in a good way. And he was still intimidating in this film. So like I said, but him and Superman just fighting, man, and that was just awesome. And then the ultimate team up at the end, Batman and Superman fight. Superman fighting Doomsday. Superman immediately begins fighting Doomsday hand-to-hand combat. Hand-to-hand combat. Aerial style. Then Batman is inside his jet. After he saves Martha, Batman is inside his jet, flying around, shooting Doomsday, and then of course Wonder Woman. Then of course right before Doomsday shoots down Batman's plane, and right before Doomsday is about to kill the Bat, Wonder Woman comes down and blocks Doomsday's blast, and then I can't remember whether it was Doomsday who fired a blast and Wonder Woman deflected it back at him, or whether she clapped her bands together and created a blast of her own. I couldn't remember very well, but like I said, and then took her shield and sword and charged at Doomsday. And then but before I get to that, see, this is where the problem with the film comes. See, plot holes. Lex Luthor, if he hates Kryptonians, and hates Superman, why did he create another Kryptonian? Like I said, I had a problem with Luthor's plan, more so than his personality. Why did he create another Kryptonian? And if he could, if at the end of the film, Luthor reveals that he's an agent of, hold on, is here on, what's his name? He's an agent of, Steppenwolf, Steppenwolf, who's associated with Darkseid. At the end of the film, he reveals he's an agent of that person, if that's the case, why is he trying to kill the one person who can stop a threat like Darkseid's army? Why is he trying to kill the one person who could do that? So that was the problem I had. But at the same time, Luthor probably, getting it back to the Luthor character, Luthor probably thought to himself that he could probably control Darkseid's army. Luthor did somewhat think that in the Justice League cartoon, so that will probably explain that. But other plot hole is Luthor creating Doomsday. He combines Zod and his DNA with Zod's. He combines his DNA with Zod's DNA, which should have created a creature similar to Zod and Luthor, not the Doomsday character from the comic books. Then earlier, then Luthor even getting his hands on the kryptonite technology, the Kryptonian technology. That should be with Superman. That shouldn't be where this guy could obtain it. Where this guy could have obtained it. Because if Luthor would not have obtained kryptonite technology, he would not have been able to create Doomsday. So like I said, those are the only problems I have with the film. And see, him creating Doomsday, they needed a final battle. What should have happened was Batman and Superman should have fought. Then eventually realized what Luthor was doing. They eventually went there and sent Luthor to jail. But they needed a final battle, so they had Batman. They needed a final battle after Batman and Superman fought, and they wanted to set up the Justice League film. And since it was so awesome, I forgave it. So they had Doomsday in the film. They had Doomsday in the film, and I hope that this Doomsday, another problem I had, I hope that I'm kind of worried about them using a character like Doomsday early. But I hope this Doomsday, since Doomsday in the comic book is a life-born who was killed many times until they found the one they wanted, something like that. And I hope they use something like that in this film too. That was an earlier version of Doomsday, and it'll be like a more powerful version of Doomsday much later in the DC extended universe. Much later in the DC extended universe. But for right now, but like I said, that entire fight was awesome. And then, like, continuing with the fight with Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman versus Doomsday, you had what they noticed that Doomsday can absorb energy and is like and can't be stopped. So they decided the only way to stop it, they figured out the only way to stop it, since it's a Kryptonian like Superman, the only way to stop it is kryptonite. And Doomsday and Batman comes up with a plan to lure Doomsday back to the city while he retrieved the kryptonite spear, because he's out of kryptonite weapons, out of kryptonite weapons, and Superman himself decides to sacrifice himself by charging at Doomsday with the kryptonite weapon, impaling him, and Doomsday, before he dies, takes out one of his spikes and stabs Superman, the already injured and wounded Superman, exhausted Superman, and Superman dies. Superman dies, and then the film ends with them at Superman's funeral, and Batman tells Wonder Woman that they need to find the other metahumans to stop an impending threat, because Batman has a feeling that something will be attacking Earth, setting up the Justice League film. And I love the Jesus symbolism at the end with the casket, the dust in the casket, the dust on the casket moving, and the film ends. And then, oh yeah, my other favorite scene throughout the film, I was wondering, how does Luthor lose his hair? How does Lex Luthor lose his hair in the film? And it shows Lex Luthor's head being shaven. It shows Lex Luthor's head being shaven in the film. So it shows Lex Luthor's head being shaven. So that's how Lex Luthor loses his head, and now he finally completes the transformation. Luthor, if you put a wig on him or have hair on him, I keep forgetting he had hair at one point. He becomes a unrecognizable person, but he finally completes the transformation. And it's, like I said, an awesome film. Like I said, awesome film, way better than what I expected. I was initially looking forward to it, but then after seeing the negative reviews, that kind of turned me against the film. But after seeing it, this film was awesome and deserved to make much more money than it did, and it also deserved a much higher reception on Rotten Tomatoes, in my opinion. It deserves some criticism, because they did shoehorn a lot of stuff in there, and Nolan's Batman's kind of ruined it. See, now they got to play catch up with Marvel, because they feel not only they got to play catch up with Marvel, but they feel by the time, if they would have built a DC cinematic universe the same way Marvel would have, they felt people would get sick of the superhero movies, which they're already starting to get sick of superhero movies right now. They're already starting to get sick of them. They would get sick of superhero movies. So they had to play what's his name, but they had to. The only reason they had to play catch up in the first place was because of Nolan's realistic solo Batman universe crap. This is what I was ranting about back when the Nolan stuff was popular. And then they first tried it with the Green Lantern film, but that didn't do so well. So yeah, but this film right here was awesome, and now I was initially critical of the DC Extended Universe. Now I can't wait. I can't wait for Justice League next year, and I'm looking forward to all the DC Extended Universe films except for Shazam and Suicide Squad. Shazam because that should be in this universe, but it's in a universe unto itself, and the Suicide Squad is in this universe, but that should be a universe unto itself because while the film is good on its own, it doesn't fit in with this universe. This was another problem I had. If Batman and Superman were willing to kill, I have no problem with them killing. But if they were willing to kill in that film, why haven't they killed real criminals like Joker and the cast of Suicide Squad? Suicide Squad. That's why I can see they don't fit. The only thing linking Batman and Joker's universe together is that Joker is the Jason Todd costume in the DC Extended Universe, which makes me wonder what happened to Dick Grayson in this universe. What happened to Dick, or is he Dick Grayson even in this universe? Um, so like I said, I'm looking forward to all the DC Extended Universe films. With the Justice League films and the Green Lantern films are the ones I'm looking forward to the most. But I can't wait the DC Extended Universe. I was initially against it, but now I can't wait for the DC Extended Universe film. But like I said, this film was awesome. I enjoyed the entire cast. This film, everything, story, action, some little bit of comedy. Perry White, he also had a hilarious line where Lois showed him the bullets, and Perry White was like, "They're bullets. You shoot people with them. You shoot people with them." Ben Affleck, when he saw Lex Luthor's woman, love those shoes. Gal Gadot, I forgot to talk about her. She was awesome as Wonder Woman. Her cameo earlier, then her epic battle scene. Her epic battle scene at the end. Like I said, man, just an awesome film. Everything I wanted in a super Batman versus Superman film. This took me back to being a kid, watching reading the comic book, reading the various Batman, Superman, Justice League comic books, um, watching the animated universe, the DC animated universe, and of course, also reminds me of the DC animated movies because of how dark this film was. But like I said, and now I can't wait for the DC extended universe, and I'm happy to hear they got Jeff Johns, GF Johns on one of the writers of the DC Justice League and Batman. I think the Hush storyline. I know this guy's a major writer of a lot of the modern day DC comics, and he's on as a producer. They also have Ben Affleck on as a producer. Who Ben Affleck? His role in his involvement in this film was praised the most. So I'm happy to hear that they're responding to the criticisms that were made in this film. So like I said, this was my long review of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. When a DVD comes out, I'll do them even more, going more in depth, even a video review that will be uploaded via Daily Motion and on my Facebook account. All right, I'm done.